Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to our Facebook Friday call where we talk about all things freelancing. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about what are the best networks for baby boomers and those that are 50 plus to join if they want to do freelancing. There are over 150 networks out there that you could join, and there's just a handful in my mind that are optimum for baby boomers and 50 plusers and that kind of thing. And we're going to tick off some of those kind of in a reverse order. And we do want to welcome also those listeners that are coming in and listening on the replay. We get about 95% of our listens on the replay. So very happy with that and happy to answer your questions in the chat window. So just drop them in there if you see something that something you have a question about or something you'd like to elaborate on, and I'll answer those as we talk to folks in the during the week. So just fire away in the message area. So the first thing that I like to encourage baby boomers to look at is the longevity of the network. Of those 150 networks, um, many of them have come to the fore in the last 3 to 5 years, I would say, and they tend to be more specialized than the bigger networks. The bigger networks have all been around 10 to 20 years or even a little bit more in some cases. And we all know how when we get a new software application or we start using a new app or that kind of thing, that it's a little rough around the edges, meaning that sometimes it crashes, sometimes it uh, won't display quite right or that kind of thing. And this is something that is especially frustrating to the baby boomer mindset. If you have an application that you're trying to work on, you're building a profile, you're bidding on jobs, you're trying to communicate with your clients through, and it can be very frustrating and disorienting. And there's no need, because there are certainly at least a dozen excellent websites out there that make a lot of sense for those that are just getting started. They've been around, they've worked out all the rough spots. They have very simple to use help systems. It's more, the word we like to use is intuitive, which is not really intuitive. It just means they found lots of mistakes and they corrected the mistakes, and then they found more and they corrected those. And you do that for 20 years and you got a pretty smooth system. So that's one of the things that really makes a lot of sense for baby boomers. It feels like when you're looking at the screen, you're looking at a nice, comfortable, colorful screen like an Amazon screen, rather than something that looks pretty geeked out like a database page or a listing of jobs or that kind of thing. So that's one of the things that you really want to look for, is that longevity. That maturity means you're going to spend less time figuring out how to use that system. And that is one of the most important things that you can do as you get started. The next thing you want to think about is the security. These online networks really act as a bank. They're receiving funds from freelance buyers, and they're pulling those into their system. In some cases, they're holding them in escrow. In other cases, they pull them in and then pay them out to you, depending upon how the system is set up. But it's very important to understand that this is banking and financial information, and this is sort of dips into the reason for getting sites that have longevity. Is you want them to be up to basically banking standards in terms of how they secure your money, the privacy around your communication, how they deposit your money, how much you're earning, all that kind of information. You want to know that the organization has gone through a number of years of securing and protecting your data within their system. And the good news is that today it's much easier to do that. Many of the new networks coming online are able to tap into cloud-based structures that give them all that security, or a lot of it, from day one. So that's good. The good news is that future networks coming online will have that security uh, when they start, versus having to do lots of trial and error to get to the point that many of the secure networks are now. But it is banking type information, and deposits and charges flying back and forth, and use of credit card numbers and that kind of thing. And I have seen over the years a number of sort of startup sites, while well intended, they don't really have that security in them. And that's something particularly to stay away from. If you're going with companies like Upwork, Freelancer, Guru.com, JustAnswer.com, you're out on the main highway and very well protected. When you get into some of the more boutique kind of sites that cater specifically to just fiction writers or that kind of thing, you're potentially in territory where the systems might not be as solid as they are on these other sites that really have millions of users and lots of activity every single day. So the next thing to take a look at is robust searching. Now, one of the things that we emphasize in our programs is that being able to find the job. Many of these networks have, from 50,000 up to 300,000 jobs open every single day. And what you want to do is be able to narrow those jobs down to the ones that are just right for you. And some of the searching on some of these systems is not very robust. You have to search by categories. There might be a few ways to sort things. But what we like to talk about is you want to be able to sort in a way that your skill also, you're able to cross that with your domains of knowledge, things that you have a lot of information about. Maybe you were in the construction industry, you know a lot about the construction industry. I talked to somebody the other day that knew a lot about the shipping industry. They spent a lifetime in that, and they know things that they don't even know they know. And if they can bring that together with a skill like proofreading or editing, writing, preparing PowerPoints, doing customer service, that kind of thing, that intersection of things you know a lot about and skills you have is your sweet spot. And that's what takes, 300,000 jobs down to 25, which is a practical number to look through on a daily basis. And also, thank goodness, are jobs that are teed up for both your skill and your background. So that's really what we're going for in this particular case. So having that robust searching is really an important aspect of that. Now, another feature that is only, I would say, in the most advanced networks, I mean, some networks get this, but is being able to see something about the reputation or the business habits of the freelancer that you're doing business for. If you go on to some sites, you can look up a job and then take a look at how that was posted, uh, and go ahead and see whether that particular client or prospective client, what their history is. What have other people said that work with them? What is their star rating? Are they a 1 star, which would be not so good, or are they a 5 star, which would be great? Really, anything 4 star and above is pretty good, worth doing. And in the old days of these systems, the buyers could rate the freelancers, but the freelancers couldn't rate the buyers. And that was a big breakthrough when that turned around. It made these online marketplaces much more useful, and it helped get off the people that were looking for uh, the lowest bid, that might be looking to squeeze the most work out of you for a particular dollar amount or that kind of thing. and it really gives you the opportunity to look into that client. And in our courses, we teach, of course, you have to do jobs in order to be a freelancer. But the very first thing you want to look at when you're considering doing a job is you want to look at that freelancer's reputation. And I know on one of the systems, you can see what year they joined. So if somebody joined in 2022, that means they're very new to the system. So they may not know well how to use it. And we suggest that baby boomers, as they're getting started, never work with that kind of uh, client, because you want to work with somebody that's experienced. You don't want to be working with somebody that's turning to you to explain how the system works as you're just getting started. And so the other thing you can look at is you can look at their star rating. You can also look at the kind of projects that they're assigning people. You can look at written verbal feedback, like a sentence or two. Sometimes it says Charlie was a great buyer to work with, and other times it'll say Charlie kept expanding the scope of the project and was not very communicative during the freelance engagement. So you're going to get a lot of sense of what's going on there. And that's why we encourage you to work with organizations that have been working on these systems for some number of years. In fact, you can choose that option as on some systems to figure out what's happening. And as always, good to see you, Marianne. Thanks for stopping by from Carefree, Arizona. Very good. And so the next thing that we want to talk about, and again, this is in reverse order, is you want to go on the networks that have the most jobs, because when you're getting started, you don't quite know what you're going to do. You're going in here, and certainly I would say it feels like about half the people that we work with wind up doing something completely different than what they thought they were going to do on these online networks. Because when you're in there every day and you're putting in your key search terms and that sort of thing, and you're coming up with jobs, and you're looking at jobs that may not exactly fall on those key search terms, they might be loosely linked to those, but you say, well, I could do that job too. And then you start to use new search terms, and it produces a whole bunch more jobs. And you say, well, I could also do this one and this one. And you really, over the first 3 months you're on one of these systems, you broaden your idea of what kind of work is possible to do. What kind of things people are out there looking for from an audience of millions of freelancers. And, as a result of the lockdowns and the pandemic, many more organizations now are considering using freelancers than ever have before. There was this kind of idea floating around out there that you couldn't get good work out of people if they were working from home. And there were a number of surveys that were done throughout the pandemic and are still ongoing as to how productive people are than they work at home. And one survey I read said they're 2 to 3 hours more productive when they're working from home versus working at the office. It also lets a whole new class of people come into the labor force. You have people that may have small children and they're not able to work on sort of 9 to 5 hours, or 7 to 3, or whatever the hours might be, that it just doesn't work for them. But if they're able to, you know, have an infant sleeping in the other room down for a nap, they have spurts of time where they're able to work on things, and it brings the opportunity to be employed and doing productive work to many more people than those that can just get dressed up and commute to work and work in an office, that kind of thing. In fact, the whole idea of office is in some ways fading into the landscape. The idea of having a skyscraper in winter with lots of people coughing and sharing the same air and the same space is going to be something that I think we see a whole lot less of over time. Like, why would you go into an office if you could have uh, a similar quality of interaction and communication um, from a remote office? Now, there's a way to go before we really have that. We love working on Zoom. We love having these video conferences. We love uh, that kind of thing. I mean, it's saved a lot of bacon over the pandemic because everybody was able to keep on working. Things took a hit initially in terms of productivity, but it very quickly came back, and people and organizations and government agencies and nonprofits all adapted to this whole idea of working remotely. And so, very good to do that. So jobs are really the big thing. I find that when somebody gets started on a network, they don't know exactly what they want to do. They don't know what's out there, and it's using those search terms to traverse the largest databases that are going to show you the kinds of different things that you're able to do. So, very important to tick off those considerations. Make sure the site has longevity. Make sure it has security so that your transactions are treated appropriately. Robust searching so you're not spending all day looking through meaningless jobs that are not right for you and finding the ones that are exactly right for you, giving you the ability to view your client information about your potential client and their reputation and how long they've been in the system and how much money they've spent. I was working with one of our members a couple days ago on the phone, and we were looking up some graphic artist type jobs, and we saw one vendor on there that was actually a major network, and their annual spend is on the order of millions of dollars through this one network. So that kind of work is out there, and that's the sort of stuff that you want to go after. And just having that multitude of buyers is going to really up your chances to win, up your chances to find your vein of gold in one of these systems. The way we teach our programs, we encourage people to get 3 to 6 clients that they're working with on a regular basis. And once you're working with clients with repeat business, you don't have to go in and bid on things every day. It's just kind of a flow. And, both parties know that at any moment your buyer could go back onto the system and put the thing that they're paying you to do back to bid it out. But I know from interviewing many buyers that once they find a freelancer that works and they can do repeat work with that freelancer, that's just one less difficult problem they have to solve in their life. And so they're typically not going to do that. They want to hire you if you can do the job. They want to keep you if you can do the job. And they want to have a relationship with you over time, because that's one problem solved that they don't have to go after solving again. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Just drop them in the chat window, either as we're live or after we sign off today, and we'll be happy to answer those. Want to thank all those folks that stopped by today, and look forward to seeing our program members on Tuesday night for our freelance call. And we'll be right back here next Friday for Facebook Friday. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Adios.